Good morning and welcome to our on the basics of Adventist Christian Fellowship. Today I want to share with you about our students. I want to talk with you about our students. We've talked about the overall concept of Adventist Christian Fellowship, and we've talked about campus culture. Today I want to talk about the students. The students come to ACF, connect with ACF from a variety of experiences. Some are on their campus because of a program they're studying, perhaps. They don't want to travel to a different state for a particular degree, or perhaps this unique degree is only available at their university. Whatever the case may be, finances, proximity to home, they're there, and we want to support them while they're there. And I want to share with you some of their own words. Last fall, I did a survey, a simple survey, asking the students that I already am in contact with to talk about spirituality and ACF. How has being part of ACF enriched spoken to, nurtured their spiritual journey? And one of, the sort of basic categories that these responses fit into were that it helps them establish a sense of connection and belonging. It helps them find friends with common goals, strengthens their faith walk with God, helps them become more focused in their involvement, and helps them become more confident in sharing their faith. And lastly, it's a source of revamping their spiritual life by giving them a way to share and grow stronger in their faith. So now those are the overarching sort of categories of their responses. Now I want to share with you some individual responses. One student says, ACF has given me a sort of home away from home. Though my spiritual life has been a roller coaster, ACF has definitely been there for me when I needed it. And I'm sure in this context, they're talking specifically about their relationships with fellow students. It has helped me connecting with local churches and promoting on-campus activities. I really appreciate the leaders stepping up to do what they do despite the school life and everything else they have to juggle. And that's a real part of Adventist Christian Fellowship, the work that the student leaders put into making these ACF chapters possible. And not just possible, but constant, moving forward. In many spaces, they just don't yet have the kind of network of support that we would like for them to have. We're working on that. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. If you know of any Adventist faculty or staff on any of these different campuses, let me know. We want to be able to provide more on-campus support to our students in the form of Adventist faculty and staff who can serve to advise them, serve to invite them over to their homes, whatever the case may be. That on-campus support is a critical part of a student's success and is a critical part of the success of the ACF chapter. Here's another student's testimony. When I first joined ACF, I was in a tough situation where I wasn't sure if going to church was my first priority. Going to ACF, which probably meant Bible studies, get-togethers, helped me change that mindset. Being around fellow SDAs who understood my struggle helped me a lot. These students are on huge campuses. Okay? None of these public universities are tiny. They are huge, and to be able to have someone, not to simply commiserate with, but someone who understands exactly where you are. In the case of this student, he or she was able to connect with other students who know what it's like to feel as if church isn't their thing right now, and really questioning where they do belong, where they should place their focus. Another student, being part of ACF has positively impacted my spiritual life because it has allowed me to stay connected to God. A regular week for me doesn't entail as much God as I want it to. However, having joined Having ACF, joining old friends and new ones who have become family to me, to study the Word and talk about God has really helped more than I can express. I really enjoy ACF meetings and the fellowship that comes along with it. Isn't that beautiful? Community makes a huge, 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 huge difference. Another student I loved, and this is someone who is an alumnus, I believe. I loved seeing other people my age praising and serving God. I also loved that we got to meet other students from different schools on campus weekends and at the different retreats. We got to go to church together, organize events, and everyone was involved somehow. We got to mentor and tutor some church children and got to grow as a group. So being part of this community of faith, this community of fellow students, is such an encourager, such a way for students to not just connect with each other, but connect with a broader community, which is a huge part of helping students remain grounded while they're away at school. Another student says, it reminded me, so their experience with ACF, it reminded me of the joy that comes from serving God. I became a deaconess and greeter during my time at my ACF chapter and have continued to serve in both ministries. It also helped create a bond with some of my ACF members. So, and again, opportunities to serve have been sort of instilled, provided, that opportunity has been extended. Students have appreciated that, have grown with that, and have taken that on with them. It's not just something that they did while they were in school. Now they're out, they're working, or perhaps, in a grad program, whatever it may be, but they're carrying those really valuable aspects of their time with them. Now, here's the last one I want to share with you. It's a more lengthy one, but a really great example of how ACF, being part of that community, has blessed students, and just another reason to continue doing what we're doing to support them, and really do whatever we can to do more, specifically in terms of building, fostering a stronger network of support. The student says, I joined ACF in the spring of this year. Not completely knowing what it was, I went to Connect 2015, that's our annual conference, because I heard about the retreat from a friend. Before attending Connect, my spiritual life wasn't thriving, but just simply existing. I was going through a hard time and was clinging on to the hope that God would change things without me really making an effort to change things. Connect was almost an escape from reality because it was the first time in a long time I was surrounded by loving people around my age who loved Christ. I especially remember the music touching me. After I left, I vowed to start going to meetings on campus and to become more involved. Weekly Bible studies became my reminder that not only does God care, but He had a plan for me. Over time, my relationship with Him developed more and more. I no longer felt helpless and alone, and as a result of this, I became very involved at my home church over the summer. Currently, I'm one of the leaders at my school. Of course, I'm not the perfect leader or Christian, but I would definitely say that ACF has had a definitive role in bettering my spiritual life. And this is a student I know for a fact is, again, going to be a student leader this coming fall at her university. It's one of these things where you just don't fully know. And this is, many areas of our lives. We just don't fully know how God is working, how He's moving, how these students are being impacted, changed, encouraged to do more, to be more for His glory. We just don't know until we ask. we have no idea, and so I'm glad that I've asked. I'm glad that I've unearthed some of these stories, because they're just such great reminders to us. And if I could ask one thing of each of you who are watching, to really think about how in your sphere of influence, you may be a local church member who isn't necessarily in a particular position at your church, and it may be easy for you to feel, what can I do? Do you have a home you can invite students to? Do you have a simple meal you can prepare? Maybe you can join with other members at your church and gather at one person's home and provide a simple meal. Students, it's easy for us to feel like I've always heard this since I was a student in undergrad. Students don't need much. Just give them pizza, give them spaghetti, and it's true to a degree. We don't just want to throw anything at students, but I think at the base of that kind of commentary is the reality that students aren't making demands. Students are looking for community, and these stories are they bear witness to that. Students are looking for community. They are blessed by community, and one of the things that local churches can provide is an intergenerational community that students don't often get. I remember about a year and a half ago when my daughter was born, after my maternity leave was over, I was back at work, and I decided to take my daughter onto campus with me. And so I strapped her in, had a carrier, strapped her in, and went for a walk. And it was still cold outside. So, she was very much covered, bundled. And so you couldn't fully see her, couldn't see her face because her face was against my chest. But just the sight of a baby, it was clear that a baby was in there. And just that sight put so many smiles on students' faces. It was incredible. Students don't often get the intergenerational, intentional community when they're away at school, especially if they're away. If they're home and they're connected to a local church and that's their home church, then typically, they will get that intergenerational experience. But especially when they're away, if they're not connected to a local church, they're seeing, sure, their professors are not their age typically, so that's a different generation. But you're not seeing children, you're not seeing folks who are relating to you as, parents, as grandparents. And it makes such a huge difference. So never underestimate, never devalue or undervalue your impact as a local church. If you are a parent, worried about the fact that your child is going to be away from home this fall, perhaps for the first time, or maybe, it's their senior year, but you have these fears as to what they're going to encounter. One way that you can step in is not to show up all the time, but to certainly, wherever you are, if there are students there, your baby is away, but if there are students still there, wherever you are, you can certainly pour into them, love them, provide for them, nurture in some way, shape, or form. And one way that you can support the ACF chapter that your student is a part of is certainly by praying for them. Another thing you can do is, if you have the means, every now and then, send some sort of a care package that can be enjoyed by the group. We've had a parent here send snacks, purchase snacks, and for all the students to enjoy. It was close to finals week, I believe, and that was something that she did. There are different ways that you can support. If you're an Adventist faculty, staff member at a university, and if you're not sure which universities have an ACF presence, just go onto our website, acfgcc.org, and you'll see the list of schools there. That same list is also on the Georgia Cumberland Conference website. Under Ministries, you'll see the Adventist Christian Fellowship tab, and you can see that list there. So you'll see all the campuses that have an Adventist student presence, and you can then find ways to connect that way. But by all means, if you're a faculty or staff member, you are not sure of what connecting would look like, I'd love to talk with you. I'd love to share with you so that we can help strengthen the experiences of our students scattered across all of these many campuses. There's a lot to be done. It's exciting. Thinking about the fall is exciting. And before I wrap up here, just want to share one little thing with you. We will be having a kickoff event for the Atlanta area schools, August 26th, that's a Friday, that evening at the Atlanta Metro Church. It'll be a time for students to gather for food. We love food. Food is ministry. And so we'll have a supper together. and then we'll go into a worship service together. It'll be a time for student leaders to share stories, to share their hopes and dreams stepping into this new school year. And it'll be a time for our speaker to encourage our students to um, sort of charge them up, and get them excited about whatever it is God is calling them to this school year. So that's August 26th, a Friday, that evening at the Atlanta Metro Church. Look out for more information on that. We'll definitely be posting information about that on our website, or our Facebook page. If you go to Facebook, just plug in ACF GCC and you'll find us there. We're also on Instagram, we're on Twitter, trying to use all these various media so that we can get the word out to our students. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to do whatever more we can to get people more informed, more aware, and more engaged with our students.